All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have the profound honor of welcoming Angel Rios to my channel for a real boot talk today, slash, whatever else we want to talk about. So, Angel, welcome, my friend. How's it going?
I'm doing well, Dale. Thank you for having me. Glad to finally talk to you on a firsthand basis, as most close to firsthand as we can get
Right.
during these times.
So true. And man, I have to compliment you on your backdrop there. That is phenomenal.
Oh man, this was a birthday gift from my wife and children. They had one of the bedrooms was like off limits to me for a few days, and I didn't understand why.
Yeah.
I should have, but they showed up. It was it like right after dinner on my birthday, and they rolled out with this big old pallet, and I was like, "What,
Oh,
dude?"
man.
I started crying, and everything was awesome.
I can only imagine how amazing that was. Yeah, yeah, that is just incredible. And yeah, I have to say, man, I've watched you grow from, just a dude, just an Instagrammer posting his boots every day to now you have your own brand. I mean,
Yeah, thanks, man. Thank you.
yeah. So, man, I love your design. I love your logo, and I actually have all your belts right next to me here from you.
Very cool, man. Repping hard.
I have two different keychains here in copper.
Oh yeah, two different styles of the key fob, right?
Yeah, exactly. I'm actually releasing a video on these two today. I just got them from urbanedcsupply.com.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah,
I like that one on the left with the looks like a cog or something. It's got like some knurling for your hand, for your to grip it.
Right, precisely. On each of them, I have three of your key fobs on one. The Hondo leather. Yeah. I've got the natural, the
Night Ranger.
Yes, the Night Ranger, exactly.
Blue.
Yes, exactly. On the other one, I've got your Bison.
Yes, very cool.
Yeah, and I got your Summer Belt one.
Yep.
In the olive bridle, and then I got the Whiz belt.
Oh, that's the favorite right there.
Oh yeah, that thing is so sweet. I'm so impressed by you. First off, like I said, I've watched you. You've been like a boot guy. You've been like an all around style guy. You got like amazing boots. You got amazing hats, amazing denim, and then you start your own brand where you're selling belts and other things. You come up with like all these different creative ideas to make leather out of. It's just so cool to watch your journey. I mean, it's truly fascinating. So why don't we lay the groundwork? Like what first gave you the idea to do this?
It all started with the belt, I guess. I was into my most expensive belt purchase, and right off the bat, sizing was a question. Kind of like, I don't know if sizing is right. I don't know if how I'm liking the way they size their belts. I was like, but the quality is there. I want a belt this thick for all my belts. So, I mean, it was a Hank's belt. Do you know Hank's belts?
Yes, I am familiar with that brand. Yeah, they're pretty nice.
Yeah. But they're very simple, very understated. But my favorite thing about them was the thickness of the leather, the weight of the leather. And so I went in, I made my first belt on my own, trying to replicate the same hardiness, the same thickness, using hardware, Chicago screws, so that way you can exchange buckles, you can trade out buckles. That was a simple criteria that I started making my first belt off of. And obviously the little details, it took some time to kind of get nailed down for it to work every day. And my last job was, and I say last job because I'm self-employed now, but I measured I was a templater, a digital templater for a granite countertop company. And so it was tape measure on my hip 24/7 all the time. I started noting the amount of wear that certain leathers don't hold up to as much with the tape measure, and possibly the belt clip and the little screw that sometimes comes loose depending on the quality of tape measure you have on. And, among other tools, I know one of your last videos was with an tactical EDC professional. And so, the similar tools involved with your everyday belt. And, I really agreed with a lot of the stuff he was saying. If a belt, the tension, if a belt can, the rigidity of it, if it can hold up to its own weight, it's going to hold up to a number of other tools.
Right.
So
Right.
those, it was a simple criteria that I started on, and, but I've always been kind of like a creative mind. I've always liked to make my own things. Boots, I've always done little things here and there to kind of customize them and, make them mine.
Right.
So.
Right. I've noticed that. Yeah. I saw some of, like, especially in your earlier videos, you'd get like some Red Wings and you would, like, just out of curiosity, and I could resonate with this so much because I want to do the same thing, like, to half my boots, but like you'd like sort of carve off a layer, if I'm not mistaken, or sort of rough it up and sort of agitate it to bring out more of its expression underneath the surface. I thought that was always super cool, like how you would do that to, like, rush patina certain things. And there are people out there that do that. They do it's called like a distressing.
Distressing process, a stone wash. There's different ways of going about that. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And I've always noticed that about you and admired that about you, because that was something that always resonated with me so much. Because I don't know if you saw, like, some of my earlier videos, I tried to I antiqued some soles on my Aldens once, and there's been other things that I've done, like sort of experimental type things, like my green color 85 Truman boots. I royally screwed those up. What happened? Oh yeah, what I did is I conditioned them, and I didn't like the outcome, so I cleaned them off. And as I stripped off the conditioner, pigments came with it, and it left behind like this just awful pale, like the leather just looked like it didn't have any dye in it. It looked terrible, and it was blotchy. It almost looked like I spilled like bleach on it.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So it was this big thing. I re-dyed them and everything, but your curiosity and your creativity has always sort of resonated with me. I was always like, wow, this guy, like, me and this guy share something in common here.
There's so many things that you can do to a leather just to change its appearance at the very least, without messing up with its integrity, hindering its integrity.
Yes, that is true.
That was basically the first thing I did. It was a YouTube video. I think the very least, it was a rough out boot. Yeah. I took a wire bristle brush to it to kind of rough it up.
Yeah.
And comment section was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I remember seeing some of the some people get real rude, but you know what that is they see it as, well, this was an expensive thing. Why would you do that to an expensive thing? But at the same time, like, I get the other side of it, which is it can take it. First off, it's tough, it's top quality. It can take this stuff. Secondly, like, you're trying to tap in, you're trying to discover what's beyond the outer layer. You're trying to see what's going to happen. Like, if you're on concrete, scraping them around all day long, what's it going to look like after that? And so I don't see anything wrong with what you've been doing with your boots and the different pieces of leather that you've been experimenting on, because hell, and even you dyed a pair of Red Wings, right? You dyed a pair, I want to say it was like a natural pair.
Yeah, it was the same pair. It was okay. That first video was before I dyed it. It was the Hawthorne Mule Skinner Iron Ranger, but it was one of the older versions where the hardware was different. It came with a nitrile cork sole. So that had been sitting in a box for about 10 years before I even bought it on eBay. It was in brand new condition. So I roughed that one up just to kind of have it look like it was new again. And then later on, I went in because I bought a newer pair of those same Hawthorne Mule Skinners.
Yeah.
So obviously I wanted to experiment, and I liked the other two colors that are like an olive, based color, green. And so I went and I ordered two colors it was like a green apple, and I don't think it was olive. It was another green color, and I mixed them together. Took about 4 or 5 applications to get like a nice consistent finish. But yeah, it was, and then I topped it off with a layer of beeswax based conditioner to kind of hold the dye in while it cured, really. And so I still have them too. They're about ready for a resole. I could really go for a resole with a higher arch support. That'd be really nice.
Oh yeah. I could resonate with that. Hell yes. I just got my first pair of boots with a woodsman heel on it, and it's got some nice arch support. It feels pretty good. It's a departure from what I'm used to wearing, but it's cool, man. It's got that like real nice, like elegant curvature on the heel there, and it's
yep.
Jake at Almost Vintage Style, he praises that style so much, but I was hesitant to try it. I always thought it was just kind of a little bit, it looked too fancy for me, but now that I've tried it, I'm like, oh no, this is pretty cool, actually.
That's how I was with higher heels. It took me a little bit of getting used to the idea of it before getting my first pair of like a raised heel boot.
Right.
And I think it was like I'm pretty sure it was like an engineer, like a Red Wing engineer boot was like my first kind of go. And right away with that raised heel, you already get more arch support. So I was already on it like, oh, okay, I see what they're doing now. I understand what everyone's talking about.
Right.
Support and the higher heels, and guys would tell me at work, because I'd have a lower heel, like an Iron Ranger. And they'd be like, those aren't boots. These are boots. And they pull out, they show me their Red Wing linemen's with the big old 3-inch heel. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I could see what you're saying, but why? Why? Arch support, lower back support. It's so much more friendly to my body.
Yeah, I'm with you. And I think that's what drew me to boots initially, was just the comfort. And I noticed a health improvement in my posture and up my back, because I have a bad back. And just when your legs and when your posture is in alignment, like the rest of your health just kind of follows and just falls in place. And, especially if you're doing manual labor throughout the day, that's priceless. That's imperative. You have to have good footwear at that point. You know what I mean? Like that's not a question. That's an absolute mandatory thing that you need. Cheap footwear, no thank you.
Yeah, cheap footwear had me coming home from work and saying, let me get off my feet. I need to get off these feet right now. My feet are tired dogs right now.
Right.
And then once you start getting into a properly built shoe that actually supports you, obviously molds to your foot with time and becomes a part of you. I'm willing. Hey, honey, you need me to go to the store after work? Yeah. Let's go. It's all good. Let's do it. It's cool. Let's get out of the house for a little bit. I've noticed a huge contrast as far as that.
Okay. Right.
I used to go to the grocery store with a pair of, sneakers or something. It's not high quality. And I'm in the grocery store leaning on the shopping cart like, yeah, that's fine. Let's get it. Yeah, I just need to get home. And that's not even the case now. So it's crazy because the more I tell people that thing, the more they can relate to it. And they're like, yeah, that's so true. Yeah.
One of the discoveries or the epiphanies so many of us in our community discover along the way is like, we've been told that sneakers are the most comfortable because they're lightweight and they're foam and they're rubber and they're all this synthetic crap. And it's like, no, that's frankly just not true at all. Like lightweight does not equal comfort, and neither does foam, neither does synthetic anything, if anything, because I used to be into biking a lot more. And so I'm used to like guys trying to sell me on like a $500 bike seat that's like super high density foam, that's essentially what leather soles are for your feet. It's not that they're squishy or soft. And this is also true in like bed mattresses and stuff too. People used to think, oh, the squishier, the softer, the more cloudy your mattress is, the better. But it's like, no, actually the firmer it is and the more supportive it is, the more high density it is, it's actually better for it's better for your body because it allows for better circulation. Because let's say, for example, if your bed was like too squishy, it would actually form like little pools of stagnant blood throughout your body. That's horrible for your circulation. That's why like your bed should actually be a little bit more firm. You know what I mean? It shouldn't be like hard as wood, but it should be firm enough to, allow for good blood flow distribution throughout your body, if that makes sense. So, but long story short, same thing with your soles. You need leather, you especially need stacked leather. The more stacked leather you can put between your feet and the ground, the more support you're going to have throughout the day. So I think that's something that you and I resonate with. Yeah, I'm with you, man. Sneakers. Oh, I was miserable in sneakers.
Athletic footwear is for running and being more agile, not for standing and being static.
Right.
The way a proper boot would be, if you're spending more time walking and standing, kneeling, sitting positions for a certain amount of time, you want something more firm.
Exactly. You need a good supportive.
Sneakers is more for energy return when you're running and you're striding, stuff like that.
Definitely.
I mean, I still got Adidas in there when I go for runs and when I, if I'm going to play a sport or something, but when I'm around the house and I'm not wearing boots, I have a pair of Birkenstocks that have an incredible amount of arch support.
Yeah.
Whole cork sandwich there, it
Oh, cool.
does wonders for like molding to your foot and stuff like that.
Nice, man. Yeah, those Birkenstocks, you can't beat those things. I was going to ask actually, and this is a question I ask most people, but I like to ask about your initiation into boots. Like, what was the boot that got you started, and how
Yeah,
long ago was it? What was the boot?
well, that's crazy because I mean I've always been into footwear. Didn't matter what it was.
Okay.
Even back when I was in high school, I was into Nikes, I was into Jordans, but there was always like Timberlands. So I always liked the aesthetic of like a luggy sole, with a more durable, a more rugged looking shoe. My friends always, it just reminded me back in when I lived in Pennsylvania, my cousins, best friends, we had our little group of friends. They would call me Snoots because I always looked for Timberlands or boots that had a little bit of like sneaker-esque, touches to it. So they used to call me Snoots. But I always was a guy like everybody had. After a while, I got rid of my Nikes and my Jordans and my athletic footwear, and I started leaning toward mostly boots. So I guess I could say I was into it, but still, that's still a different type of category when you talk about Red Wing, heritage style boots, more traditionally built boots. I would say 7 years ago, I started watching, was it The Boot Guy Chicago?
Oh yeah.
Chicago.
Okay.
And he would always have like the latest work boots, and every once in a while he'd have a pair of heritage style boots. And he'd always say, "Oh, this is not the type of boot that is going to be comfortable right out the box. You need to wear this boot. You need to sweat in it. You need to let it get heating up and cool down. And when you're wearing it, and the moisture, and it wicks moisture away, your feet are going to be more healthy with more leather around your foot rather than cheaper fabrics and cheaper textiles that hold moisture and start to smell funky and break down over time with exposure to heat and things like that." And as I started warming up to that idea, I was really looking at the Red Wing, the Iron Rangers, the Beckmans, mostly whatever he had on his channel. I was like, oh, okay. So, because he had a really good job of explaining how that works, breaking down a boot and why it's harder to break down a boot if sizing isn't correct and stuff like that. There's a few YouTubers that I kind of used to look at. That's how we met. The first time we talked, it was a pair of Thorogoods, the Portage, the roofers.
Yeah.
The Portage roofers. We both had two pairs. I'm sad because I don't have those anymore.
Oh crap! You sold them.
Do you still have both pairs?
Yeah, I was looking around my room because I just put up these cubbies, and
yeah, I was noticing that.
Yeah, I was seeing. I have one pair of roofers in the cubbies down there. My brown Chrome Excel roofers. Yeah, I still have all three of my roofers, but the other two are upstairs. I have the navy, which you have those too, right? The navy Chrome Excel.
The indigo dyed and
the indigo.
Desert sand, I think it was called.
And desert sand, yeah, the desert sand roughouts. Oh man, those things are so awesome. Yeah, that was the first boot you and I talked about. And
yeah, absolutely. We connected right away. I was in the comments. You commented back, and I was like, wow, these YouTubers actually, like, they're real people.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Oh, trust me, man. I'm as real as it gets. Like, this is I record all my videos, nothing fancy. It's just all on my iPhone, and I just upload it to YouTube. I don't have any fancy equipment, or well, I did just get a microphone, a Blue Yeti, it's called.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm slowly upgrading, but yeah, as time goes on, I'm starting to invest in a better scene. Like, as you can see, I put up a boot display behind me to sort of,
yeah. I need to get you some Kubies like that, man. All my pairs are on the floor.
Okay, gotcha.
Like underneath in the bottom of the floor of the closet.
Right. Yes, that's how mine were, and they were overflowing. It wasn't a good situation at all. So I could stow 24 pairs down here in my man cave. So I'm excited about that. The wife should lay off me for a while in terms of hogging the closet space. You used to listen to the Boot Guy. That's awesome, because so did I. I haven't listened to all his stuff, but I did used to listen to him periodically, and he had just some great things to say, especially, and the one that resonates with me still to this day is he used to say, don't let anybody tell you how to size in your boots. And I thought, my God, that is so true, because my whole life people size me wrong. They always size me too small. And I have an idea as to why that has happened up till now. They used to take my Brannock size and they'd measure my Brannock when I was sitting down. Well, I noticed recently, yeah, because I measured my Brannock myself recently. And yeah, it's different when I'm sitting down versus when I stand up and put my full body weight on it. My feet actually like go, they actually get a lot better.
They splay out with the arch, being depressed and everything.
Right, exactly. And I didn't know that that's what happened. And so my whole life, people were putting me in size 8 shoes and I was kicking them off at my desk all day. I was miserable. Like I could feel my foot pulsating all day. It sucked. And then, the first pair of boots that got me were the Alden Indies 8.5. I tried them, and it was just like stepping into a dimension of comfort I didn't know existed. And so it was all downhill from there, man. It was like, I mean, as you can see now, full blown addiction now. So
yeah, I have a similar kind of personality. Whereas if something catches my attention and I start learning about it, the more I learn about it, the more I want to learn more about it. And I kind of just get down this wormhole where I'm like, wow, I'm surrounded by this thing that caught my attention, just, like one YouTube video or something like that.
Right. I think you and I are so similar in that respect, because, and I'm noticing this too with YouTubing now. The more videos I make, the more videos I realize I have to make. So it started out like
subject matter, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's like, well, I made that video. Now I have to expound on that point with 3 other videos. And it's kind of like, the Marvel universe. It like just keeps getting bigger and bigger. I'm sure it's like that for you as well. It's like I could only imagine as a creator now and a designer and a workman making your own leather goods now. I could just only imagine like the stuff that's on your docket to do.
Oh man, there's so many things. I don't write them all down. Most of them I don't write down. I still got like some of the first ideas of, my design, like the aesthetics and everything. I still have the first note that said letter in the shape of an X. And I'm like, wow, that's crazy. I still have that up on my thing, I knew I wanted that the letter X, the shape X, all that stuff. I wanted that to be, paramount in all of the design.
Yes. There it is, baby. Wow. I gotta say, man, I love it.
And you have the earliest of the design, which was unburnished edges.
Yeah.
Same weight and everything like that, but without the burnished edges. I know, that was one of the first things I looked at, which was, well, what are most people doing and what can I do to make it a little bit different,
Okay.
And I saw a lot of just raw edges cut, but like unbeveled, unburnished. I was like, well, let me at least bevel it and sand it. I still sand all my edges by hand, so it's a nice round edge. That was one of the first things I started on, which was, especially with a thicker weight belt, if it's a really stiff leather, you can feel those edges around your waist, those sharp edges. And so that was one of the first things I just wanted to make sure was, let me make sure it's comfortable, and sizing is the most important. I'm very easy to get a hold of. If anyone has questions, I'm actually going to be putting up just like a diagram with some wording underneath it to help people with sizing. Because right now it's based off of your pants waist size.
Right.
And as we all know, there's a vanity sizing included with basically every brand. So if you wear this size pants, it usually means you're on average about 2 to 3 inches larger, your actual waist size.
Yes.
So that's as simple as I get, is go off your pants waist size.
Yeah.
The center hole is going to be 3 inches larger.
Okay.
In measurement.
Right. And man, I gotta say, like I love the way that you measure belts, because it just makes it so easy. It takes out all the guesswork, because what you're saying about vanity sizing, like I learned that the first time I ordered my first pair of Japanese raw denims. It's like, oh yeah, I'm a 32. Yeah, send me some 32 Samurais. It's like, yeah, you can't even pull those things up.
Yeah, yeah. And there's I think Gustin is one brand that I've noticed is very small. They run very small, like as far
Right.
as weight.
Yeah.
They're a little closer to 1.5 inch, larger rather than the 2 to 3 inch larger. So
Right.
Gustin, I know if I am going to order a pair of pants, it's going to be at least 1 to 2 inches larger, depending on the slim or the straight cut.
Definitely. Definitely. That's true. Man, I love how easy it is to size. I think on this belt, I think it latches in either on the third or fourth hole, right in the center. Perfect. Perfect fit. I love how easy that is. Like, just order your pant size and you cover the rest. You know what I mean? And it's true. Like, the sizing for your belts is spot on. I can tell you that right now. Like, I love how easy that is. No measuring on my end required. Just simple, easy, beautiful belts. Here we have the bison one, man.
El Legado.
El Legado. Yes. I can't tell you how honored I was when you asked me to help you out in picking out the name for this, because I still feel like I'm just a guy,
Yeah.
So to be able to like partake in like the design of an item, it's like it's like mind blowing to me.
Well, that was fun. I mean, I enjoyed it. I thought it would be fun, and I was like, I figured, you would have no shortage of ideas.
Right.
I knew it would be something interesting that you would pick for the name. So
right.
it was fun. That was a lot of fun. That's the first edition. For the second edition, I want to find a heavier weight.
Okay.
If I could find something a little thicker, that'd be fun. So
yeah, this is good. I mean, it's thin. I want to say it's about as thin as like my Tarns Joe belts from Pigeon Tree Crafting, because most of his belts are thick. They're like the Sedgwick leathers. They're like this,
right?
Probably 10, 12 ounces. But yeah, the Tarns Joe that I got recently from Pigeon Tree Crafting, they are thinner, but it's still a very tough leather. So that's why I don't mind.
Yeah. That's what I love about leather is it will have an incredible tensile strength to it.
Yes.
And for that reason, I try to I like the look of a thicker belt. I like it. I like the idea of a thicker belt myself. But I mean, I've had people email me, and maybe this is something I should put on the website too. But honestly, let's say you get into a motorcycle accident and you road rash your belt to nothing, I'll replace your belt, but I've had people ask, hey, what's your return policy? And I'm like, well, if sizing is incorrect, that's it could be my fault. It could be your fault. It's really subject to what happened. And I know there's other makers that do this. There's no way that you don't. You just end up, sizing it wrong, or you build it incorrectly. That's only happened like twice, since I've started, but it happens. And it's not something to shy away from. Just try to avoid it the best you can. As far as failure points, I don't want to have to deal with someone coming back with, saying that stitching came undone or something like that. I don't know that that's ever happened, but I know it happens with boots. So that's why I like to keep just simple hardware. And I might get into stitching, at some point, stitching some designs into it. Maybe even add it to part of the construction. I think it's a simple design it leaves you less points of failure, the more simple it is. And, that way me as a maker, I'm extremely creative, I'm not saying I'm like the most creative. I'm just saying my mind enjoys the process of creating from an idea to making it, something that you're holding in your hands.
Right.
So I think having a simple design allows me to simply refine it over time, that idea, and then have time to work on something else.
Right.
More product design and stuff like that.
Definitely. Yeah. And like I said, I can tell you the creative type because, the creative types, they find it therapeutic to create things. Yeah. It's not like you're working. It's like you're actually having the most fun you could possibly have when you're creating things. And that's how I feel. And I can tell that's how you are too. Not just with outfits and style and boots and belt design and key fob design, which, by the way, man, like I love your X, but I think what I love even more is like the intersectionality of like the lines that you put on your key fobs. I think that is
Yeah, the Nobleman's grid. They're all different.
Yeah.
It was on the fly. Everyone is, just all going on, going with it, just going with the flow.
Right.
And
Right.
it's the
Exactly.
last part of, like, when I'm done with the belt, before I package it, that's the last thing I do is the key fob. And so that kind of gives me a little bit of let's unwind from this belt. Let's unwind from the journey of this individual's package of their product, and it kind of individualizes each single product that way, because they're all different, and you kind of want to remember. Like, I remember I did the 3 lines really close. That one was really fun. Or
Yeah.
or there's times where I've done like 2 lines and like one just goes off and crosses the other. Like, oh, gotta redo it. I remember that belt. I had to redo like 3 of those key fobs. So just little stuff like that. I want to be able to remember. It helps me remember each individual one.
Right.
Kind
Yeah.
of like that movie, The Notebook.
Oh yeah. Yes, exactly.
So something to help me remember you by.
I can't tell you how many times my wife has made me watch that with her.
Oh my gosh. Oh, me too. I've been there.
I'm sure you have, my friend.
I've watched it at least 4 times. I'll be honest.
Yeah, I think probably many men out there could resonate with that feeling, being forced to watch Notebook. I had another question. So, and this is more like into your personal style. So I noticed that you're familiar with Dave at the Vintage Future, right?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
See, to me, I think you two are kind of similar in a lot of ways when it comes to your style, because you both have the hats, and you in particular, you're even more like Western, I would say, because you tend towards, I've seen you reviewing cowboy boots recently, more specifically like the Chisos, I think they're called.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind, like, just taking a minute and like walking me through like your own individual approach to style, because I mean, you love the denim, you love the boots, but you also get kind of heavy into the into the Western wear as well. So what's your background with that sort of thing? And yeah, just kind of walk me through your individual approach to style.
I'll say, okay, so shout out to Dave first, cool Dave. And he I remember he reached out to me before he got his first Stetson, and I think we were just talking about the color exactly between caribou and fawn and all the different beiges and tans. So shout out to him. Glad to see you. You're looking good in that hat. Question was, how did I get into Western? Okay, so I was born in Brooklyn, New York. But we moved to Arizona, to Phoenix, when I was 5 years old. If you can imagine, when I was 5, we had cartoons. We had the Warner Brothers Saturday morning cartoons. And one of the things that's always kind of attracted me was the wheel guns, the cowboy boots. What was that show? Bonanza. Do you remember that show, Bonanza? It was an old Western show. I mean, I think it was like in the 60s or 70s. Long time. It was way before I was born, but it was just a show that was always on TV. And so I always watched it. And so when we moved to Arizona, I'm thinking, cowboys are out there with riding horses and all that stuff. And of course, when you're driving from the East Coast to the West Coast, you're definitely seeing, as you start getting through to Oklahoma and Texas, you start seeing those different things on the side of the road, driving. My sister had a pair of cowgirl boots, had her white hat, I think it was like a white leather vest with the little, what do you call them, tassels or whatever? Like bikers have them on their motorcycles.
Yeah, they're tassels. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So my sister had that whole thing going. And then I had a pair of like little cheap cowboy boots. I had a straw hat, and I had my little cap guns.
Cool.
Got in like a little, so I always had that, like, really, just thinking that was so badass, having that, like, that look. There's just something about it. You're wearing like raw materials for clothing, leather, and denim and stuff like that, cotton. I didn't really get into it as an adult until 2 years ago,
Right.
There's just so much out there as far as like working on your style as an individual. When you grow up and you can experiment with different styles. I've done the whole slim fit, slim cut, everything, loafers to tapered outfits, depending on the material. When you're doing more tapered and more, form fit clothing, stretchability is the number one thing to comfort,
True.
That's like the number one thing that makes it possible is stretchy textile on your pants. That way I've got long legs. I'm 6'3". Once you get into like heritage and workwear style, that's when if you're gonna have a thicker pair of denim, it's probably not gonna be stretchy. So
True.
And that's kind of where I find myself now is from. So my favorite denim brand is Brave Star because they have that budget friendly. It's more affordable to kind of play with different fits and different weights of denim. I love their 21.5 ounce, which is their thickest, basically regular priced denim.
Okay.
And I have it in 3 different fits. And so the more I wear them, the more I always find myself being more comfortable in the looser fit. So, right. And I love thick denim. It's just my favorite. It fades the most, contrast. It has the most contrast to the fades.
True.
I like the fact that it actually protects your skin and your legs.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely.
I have thinner weight denim as well, but I always find myself going to the thicker weight. So yeah, and then going to shoelaces and boots, lace-up boots with the heritage workwear. I consider to be one of my best friends, Ryan, owner at Pisgah Range Laces. He's got probably over 40 colors, and just the quality, it meets my standards. It exceeds my standards. I've never had a problem with any of his shoelaces, Right. So I did have one pair of Beckmans, and one of the eyelets had like a burr in it. And it did shred one of my laces, but not to the point where it's unusable. It has, you can see a little bit of fraying on the paracord there.
Right.
But, I took care of that. I never had any issues with those shoelaces at all. But the more I get into a house where, we recently moved into this house, so much backyard work, and when you're running in and out of the house, you want to take on your boots, put on your boots, you want to kick them off, you want to put them on, kick them off. The more I'm leaning towards just pull on boots.
Okay. Interesting.
I do like a higher shaft, like 6 inches cool, but I really like the 8-inch shaft. But it takes time, especially when you have thick denim and you're like rolling the sleeves up, your pant leg up just to get to them. Right. So I'm just leaning towards the pull-on boots. And again, with pull-on boots, you can go wedge sole, but you're always going to get more arch support with a higher heel. And then the fact that I live in Arizona, okay, when you're out there in the middle of the summer, mostly, you need something over your head, to cover you from the sun.
So true.
So that's where I got into Stetsons, because you can wear a baseball cap, but when your back is to the sun, you're not going to get that same kind of coverage. You spend one afternoon in the summer day, you'll sizzle up pretty quick here in Arizona. So that's just another form function, that whole kind of thing. There's aesthetics, and then there's product design that kind of helps you be more comfortable and lend itself well to your activities better.
Right.
A Stetson hat. The more I wear outerwear, the more I'm wearing 2 layers to kind of help me stay cooler. In the heat. That helps me. And it always, if you wear 2 layers, you can always take one and kind of, stay dry that way.
And you're right, because I was reminded of that recently when I took a trip out to California several months ago. I'm the type, like I live in the northeastern United States. I clamor for sunlight to hit my skin. I want as much sunlight on me as possible. But when you're out in California / Arizona out west where the sun is like so bright and just oppressive, you need, like, I was wearing a hat every day. I'm like, nope, screw this. Like, it's just too intense. Like, I need protection. That's where that Stetson comes into play, because that would give you more protection. In my situation, I don't hardly get any sunlight. Hardly ever. I probably get 15 minutes a day, whereas you're probably trying to reduce the amount of sun exposure you have because you have so much. I completely agree with you. I think, one of these days I hope to live out west again, because I love it out there. I'll definitely probably turn into more of a hat guy if I live out there.
I've caught like heat exhaustion. That's not something you ever want to go through, but when you're by yourself. If I'm on one side of my house and something happens like that, I get too hot, it might be 20 minutes before someone comes checking on me,
That's a good point.
The one time it happened to me was we were camping. We had a big old, like a 28-foot trailer, and we got to our spot and it was time to like unhook and everything. And I was out there in the sun with, nothing, no protection, no nothing. I was probably a little dehydrated, and I was just about done. And I kind of collapsed. I sat down, I was slurring speech, and that was pretty crazy. It was pretty scary. So my wife's like, your blood sugar, something, get you out of the sun, just got me cold water, that's something scary, but it really does. It's something that creeps up on you. And, so out here in Arizona, we have lots of people that, like I said, you could be slightly dehydrated and just not aware and not expecting it to get that hot. A lot of people get caught out on the trail hiking, and the fire department has to come out to their rescue because they just collapse from heat exhaustion.
Right. And that is scary. That's the scariest thing. Yeah. You got to stay ahead of your dehydration. Like, you just got to stay ahead of it. When I was a teenager, my sister, she lived out in Vegas, and we used to, right outside of Vegas, there's this place called Red Rock Canyon. It's a canyon made of red rocks, essentially. It's beautiful. One of my favorite places. I'd stay with her all summer long, and we would plan to go on a hike, but we'd have to wake up at 4 a.m. because that was the only time of the day when it wasn't like 130 degrees outside. So we had to be there at like 5 a.m. if we were going to stand a chance out there. Cause if we waited any longer, it almost doesn't matter how much water you bring. Like, the sun is so intense, it just bakes you alive.
But yeah, wearing clothes that kind of lends itself to you being able to be exposed to your elements for, a little bit more, a longer time, while, maintaining your comfort is,
right.
I think that's huge. Denim does a really good job of kind of insulating. It's a little more rigid, like a denim shirt is a little more rigid. So even a button up can, you're still going to get a little bit more airflow through your buttons, through the top. Whereas a looser fitting garment might hold itself closer to your skin, let less airflow through. If you're going to wear something a little looser, then I think the thread count needs to be a little less, kind of like a linen shirt where the stuff goes right through.
Right.
I like covering my arms, because that's something that always I get heat bumps if I drive for too long with a short sleeve shirt and the sun's beating. I'll start breaking out in heat bumps. So that's another reason why I kind of like to wear long sleeves.
Yeah, there's a channel that I follow on YouTube. I forget the name of it, but this guy, basically, he's like a younger kid, like our age, and it's somewhere in like Death Valley or something. Yeah, it's like an old ghost town out there. And essentially what it is it was an old mining town from like the early 1900s. And his big thing is he's always looking for denim down these old mine shafts, because the denim, because it's been used as workwear since basically 100 years. Yeah. And so
I saw a video not too long ago where it might be the same guy, but they found it was some kind of garment in a mine.
Yeah.
They pulled it out, cleaned it up or something.
Yes.
I forgot what it was too.
Yeah. And they found it was a coat, and it was a workwear coat.
Mm-hmm.
And it was expensive. He contacted the company, which it's a company that we follow.
Oh, Black Bear. It was Black Bear.
Black Bear. Yes. Yes. Okay. So yes, absolutely. So you watched the same thing.
Yeah. I can't remember who put it up though. I know exactly what you're saying.
The link to that video will be included in the description below the video if you want to check it out.
Yeah, I'll watch it again.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite channels right now. It is so fascinating because, first off, he's not doing it for like the clothing aspect. But guys like you and me would definitely be interested in it for that reason. But he's all into finding the denim. He's all into finding the old workwear because it's expensive. And I think denim companies like Levi, they actually buy back like really old articles of their jeans that are like from, basically to use them as museum pieces.
Yeah. Nice.
And yeah, they'll pay like thousands of dollars for it, depending on the situation. And if you found like one of their first pairs of jeans down an old mine shaft that's like 120, 100 years old, man, that's a pretty paycheck right there. So
yeah, I could see that being a nice little business model.
oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, so let's hope we see more of that here in the future. So another question I wanted to ask, I can't help but notice there's a lot of like Hispanic or Spanish influence on some of the naming of some of your products. If you wouldn't mind like talking me through your heritage a little bit, do you speak Spanish? Are you of Hispanic heritage?
Sí, sí, claro que sí. Soy puertorriqueño.
Oh, but
yeah, I speak Spanish. I'm Puerto Rican. I'm actually full-blood Puerto Rican, so both my parents are Puerto Rican. My Spanish isn't perfect, but I could absolutely hold my own in a conversation,
cool,
stuff like that. But yeah, I'm Puerto Rican. Like I said, I was born in New York, and
great.
My kids are actually 3/4 Puerto Rican, 1/4 Dominican, because my wife is half Dominican, half Puerto Rican. So
okay, awesome. If I remember correctly, there's like 4 million Puerto Ricans in Puerto Rico, but there's even more Puerto Ricans than that in the mainland United States. And there's specifically in New York City, there's a huge Puerto Rican population there.
But it's interesting because the lineage of the Puerto Ricans, they started as an Indian people, island. They were called Taino Indians. And
yes.
There was a whole trade route between all of the islands, between tribes and people, all through from the Florida, the Keys, all the way down to South America. There was trading routes all through there. And so, with that, people traveled. But if you know anything about the Puerto Ricans, we have a mix. We have African blood, we have European blood, and we also have the native blood, and so there's, I'd say, theories that we're also related to people in, like Peru, and let's see, there's the Mayans. A lot of those people are very much the same.
Yes.
Facial features, stuff like that. But right. It's crazy because, we're all brunettes, olive skin brunettes in this house. Mm-hmm. We do have one blonde hair, blue-eyed boy. Really? He's not blue eyes. I'm sorry, not blue eyes, hazel eyes.
Interesting.
And that's because of the European. So we have strands of the European. Like I have cousins that speak only Spanish and they're blonde hair, blue eyes. Wow. So that's the European part of the family line that kind of, it just shines through, and it's random. But like right. my little boy, he's blonde hair and hazel eyes, wow. But he's Puerto Rican and Dominican. It's awesome. I love that. I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it is cool. You're so right. Yeah, because in Puerto Rico, yeah, like you said, you've got a mixture of the African, of the native Tainos, as well as a lot of Spanish colonists came there, other European groups as well. So it's totally a melting pot, totally 100%, like you're saying. That's why you get such a range. And it would surprise you, but yeah, there's blonde Puerto Ricans. There's even redheaded Puerto Ricans, if I'm not mistaken. And so in that vein, I kind of wanted to ask you, so you don't just make belts. I mean, belts are what I have mostly from you, but you also make the Atrapa Sueño hat band.
Yeah. Yep.
Which means dream catcher, right? In Spanish. Nice. Right. There it is.
Right. And beautiful. Honestly, the reason I chose Atrapa Sueños hat band was because there's a lot of like inspirational and motivational guys that I listen to, and some of the like core values that I kind of work every day around, stuff like the most dangerous man is the one who dreams with his eyes open, little things like that, little nuggets like that, where you're like, I am one of those daydreamers that loves to put pen to paper and to kind of get ideas. That's, the whole process of getting an idea and turning it into something real. Little things like that can remind you of, rather than just saying the strap hat band or, the replaceable hat band. I
Right.
think little things like that, where it attaches itself to something that kind of can get you going, can maybe even raise your blood pressure a little bit to kind of get you up off your ass and kind of challenge yourself for the day. That's those kinds of things I want to be part of Nobleman's Apothecary. So
That's very inspiring, and I have to say your inspiration and your drive it's very infectious. Like I feel it when you post it. It's very inspiring. It gets me going because part of my escape is Instagram and social media and talking about boots and talking about stuff that I love. And it's like sometimes I won't lie, I lose focus of that. It's like I don't feel like posting today. And then I remind myself, like, no, wait a second. What are you talking about? This is what you do. This is what you're supposed to do. This is your escape. This is your hobby. You help re-inspire me to sort of reconnect with that drive because it's like I love this stuff and I'm gonna at least take 15, 20 minutes every day to reflect on the stuff that I love. And I'm not going to give up on that. Your message, I think, is very inspiring. And I think that's one message that is lost in clothing and in men's garments is like, hey, be a man, wear them and be a man. So that's what I love. I love that the attitude behind your brand. It's not just the products, but it's the attitude. Like, wear this stuff, but also seize the day wearing it too. Like, don't just put it on and sit on the couch. Like, no, put it on and go out there and kick ass.
there's a lot of brands who are successful, but have a really, I guess you could say, lost connection with the origins, or the fact that there's actually people behind, who designed that product, the reason they designed it, the inspiration behind it. I think I like having a story for every product. Having a story behind each product attaches an identity to it, and a good positive identity, something that helps people feel good at the end of the day, or at the beginning of the day. I've spent I'd say the last 2-3 months talking with small brands, and some of them that have just started, or other ones that have been in business for years. And they kind of get revamped because they're like, hey man, your feed is something else. I really connected with it. I really related to it. We should talk and let's collaborate. And people reaching out to me like that. And there's a brand now that's these necklaces by Saguaro District. I got two actually.
Cool. I think I saw your post on those.
Yeah, and this is Lauren Kelly, and she's actually local to me, so it kind of struck home a little bit better to kind of connect with her. She's into, I think she has mainly Truman boots. She's got a few of those, and so I've always known her to be into like denim and boots and stuff. But when she started reaching out to me and talking about how she wanted to start her own thing, I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. I want to help you. You know what I mean? In the same way that you reached out to me and wanted to do your own, like a series of YouTube videos on the belts. You know what I mean? That right there, it's reciprocating excitement, reciprocating positive energy. And that right there, it really solidifies a community and what it stands for, and kind of represents everybody the best when you see those kinds of things happening in that community, So I like I said, I spent the last few months connecting with a few more people on average. And it's been a lot of fun being on the backside, not having any part in. It's an intangible equity,
Right.
that you create when you start helping people and talking with people and kind of help them mend and mesh those creative gears together and kind of get their machine going for the first time. And it's like, the first time that engine starts cranking and it's off and it's going off on their own, and that's something I'm having a lot of fun doing right now.
Absolutely. I mean, amen to everything you just said, brother. I have to say, like, Lauren Kelly, she's one of my good friends on Instagram. We're actually in a group together where we talk about Truman boots all the time. And
okay. All right.
Yeah. So shout out to Lauren. What's up, Lauren? She's got an incredible boot.
Look her up on Instagram. Saguaro District is the page for her newest endeavor, which is these really cool turquoise stone necklaces.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I will leave a link to that as well because yes, I I was blown away when she started her own thing, like her own brand, creating those necklaces, and they are beautiful. And it's not just necklaces, am I right? That like she's got bracelets too, I think, and some other things that are based around the turquoise gem there. She's a great gal, always a great person to talk to, and interesting boot collector and style enthusiast. And yeah, she's awesome. I love Lauren. Yeah, she's so cool. And yeah, I saw you two working together. I thought that was so cool that you guys found each other on your own because like I talked to you individually and I talked to her individually, and it's like, oh, you guys found
Yeah, we kind of just started in the comments, really just commenting, on each other's stuff. And once I think we found out that we were both in Arizona, we kind of just, now we talk a little bit more often. And then the one day she reached out to me, and I was like, yes, all right, you're starting your own thing. Yes. And I know you wanted to start your own thing. So, I mean, what's up, Dale? It's, what do you, let's get going, man.
Yeah, I need to. It's so,
no pressure.
Yeah, no pressure, dude. It is so daunting. And that's another thing that I really wanted to talk to you about because you did it. Like you got started, you had a vision and you ran with it and you made it happen. And for me, it's so hard just getting it going. You know what I mean? Maybe this talk's going to be the motivation I need.
Well, here's the thing. The one thing I will tell you that I've told her, I don't know how many times, is, and she understands it too, but I remind her all the time, is like, just remember, you're not gonna have a plan that's drawn out. As far drawn out into detail as you want to have it, your business model, it's going to change. So sure, have your little drawn up, imaginary picture of the perfect world, the perfect circumstances, but it's all about taking that first step. As soon as you take that first step, you're gonna have a direction that you're kind of already leaning towards. So you'll figure it out as you go, and you learn to adapt. The human mind's made to adapt, so you'll figure it out. And when you got good people in your corner, like I have Boot Hunter's one of the greatest influences that has really been a huge part of me getting that motivation, that inspiration to get that first step out the door. I had my little brother-in-law was over here the other day, and he was talking about, just a simple idea of like, he's like, I want to do something, like I want to do something on my own, something I could maybe make some money on the side, I was like, well, here's the thing. You're not going to have it drawn out. And we're standing in the garage, and I'm like, look at me here. Okay. I was like, come here, stand next to me. Okay. Look to your left, look to your right. What can we see from our standpoint in the garage? You can see 2 doors over, on the left side, 2 doors over on the right side. I live in a cul-de-sac, so it's a big circle. And I'm like, all right, let's take one step forward. Now we can see my direct next door neighbor on both sides. The whole game just changed because now there's twice as many people living right next to us as possible. It's the same thing with opportunities. Once you change your perspective, you see all the different angles that the opportunities that are surrounding you with. That's just one perspective to look at it. One way to kind of explain it.
Yeah, no, you're so right. Yes, absolutely. And while we're on the subject, I'll just throw it out there what I was planning. So I play the video game Uncharted 1 through 3. I love that video game. And in the video game, the main character Nate, he's got a shoulder saddle harness, or I don't know what you call it. Yeah, it's like a shoulder harness for his gun. He's got one side for a holster and another side for just general gear, and it looks so cool. Like it stretches across his back, and it's like 4 straps coming together, intersecting in the center, and then it's just the coolest looking thing in the world. And so I went Googling, and yeah, there's some of those out there that gun shops sell, but they're not like made of Horween's Excel or Essex or Dublin or any of the stuff that we really, us boot enthusiasts really love. So I was thinking like
Shell.
That would be the craziest thing in the world. So I was thinking skip the holster, but maybe just do one satchel on each side and just sort of, make it like an everyday carry type piece of equipment, like right now I'm wearing a vest with a lot of pockets in it.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So what if you just wanted to wear a t-shirt and you wanted to carry around some extra gear? Then a shoulder harness, as it might sound impractical, but it might be like a cool thing. So I don't know. It just came.
Yeah, just like a fanny pack, just same as a fanny pack,
Exactly. A cool fanny pack. Yes, exactly. So I was thinking of maybe ordering some Horween, seeing what I can't put together. But I need more than that. Like you'll
need hardware. You'll need, yeah, you got to find the dimensions of the hardware pieces. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. Like you're talking about the Chicago screws. I'm thinking I would either want screws or rivets or something to that.
Yeah.
Something of that nature. I just don't know where to start. Like there's brass buckles. There's so many different things that I could get to get started. And I just don't know what's going to be. Like you said, you got to take the first step. You know what I mean? But yeah, I could see the Chicago screws being a very tempting way to go.
And definitely, I'd say a foolproof place to start is with screws like that you can change out easily. So
true. As opposed to rivets, which are, correct me if I'm wrong, those are pretty much fixed in place, right?
Yeah, they're fixed in place. You have to either cut them off with some pretty strong snips, or
right, exactly.
And if you're designing a product with leather, there's certain things you can do, and small adjustments you can make while designing, while keeping that same leather strap, intact and still usable for that first prototype.
Right.
Yeah, I'd say a set of Chicago screws probably to get started, where you're learning the proper design clips, design straps. And
I agree. I think I'll start with that. But man, like speaking of the different hardware, so like your buckles, most of your buckles are this one, the solid brass. Correct me if I'm wrong. That's like a standard Japanese like square buckle.
Yeah, that's an American one. The stainless on the left is actually Chinese.
Oh,
so the stainless is the only one that's from China.
Okay.
But they're the most heavy duty, and that stainless is my favorite. That's my personal favorite.
Me too.
It's so solid, and it's nice. It looks good. So the stainless, unfortunately, it's not American made, but it's Chinese, and it's really high quality. That's like I said, that's my favorite. I've even done to one customer who asked me to get rid of the grain a little bit. So I went with a sandpaper, and I went on the whole buckle, the stainless buckle, and kind of made it a little bit more matte finish, as opposed to having the strong stainless grains. And that looked really good.
Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. That sounds amazing. This, by the way, it's hard to pick a favorite, but this Hondo might be my favorite of yours. I mean, and this isn't even one that I would have thought was going to be my favorite, but this thing is just, I'm so happy every time I go to put this thing on. It's first off, it's got the stainless steel buckle that you're talking about. Super hardy, super robust, thick buckle, Chicago screws, and then this just incredible embossed burgundy leather grain.
Yeah, that's the Wicket and Craig burgundy, but
yes,
that was embossed, and I'm not sure if I'll ever get that again. It'd be really cool to get that in a different color. But the burgundy from Wicket and Craig is extremely durable. It's probably one of the most durable. Something about the veg tan from Wicket and Craig burgundy over all their other colors.
Interesting.
It ages the most well. It's really saturated in oils and waxes. So it's a pleasure to work with.
It is. You're so right. And it is saturated. And I don't know if it comes through on this camera here. You can see certain areas of concentration where the pigments are starting to concentrate from stress points.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
Yeah, and they darken up, and they look so freaking good. Oh God, I love this belt.
Yeah, I'm glad I made myself one of those. Glad I made myself one of those. I use that same buckle in my burgundy, which is the embossed, same leather, just not embossed. And that stainless and burgundy is like a very good combo. Very good combo.
It's perfect. It's such a good combination. Yeah, for sure, man. This was my first belt from you. This is the summer belt in olive bridal. from Wicket and Craig. This thing is so
That one transforms quite a bit, doesn't it?
yeah, it does. It does. Yeah, you can see all the breaks in it now.
Yeah, that's so interesting. Yours has like the most consistent like amount of those breaks in the top coat, in the top layer.
Right. Right. Exactly. It might be because I've wrapped it up because I took it on a trip and I wrapped it up real tight.
Oh yeah.
So maybe that produced some of that, but it's also one of the belts that gets the most wear because I love to wear this with my green boots, specifically these Mark Alberts in forest green kudu go very well.
Oh, the forest kudus. Yeah.
Goes so good with this summer belt.
Kudu has such a I mean, you're the same way, but I love leathers that have more character right out the box, right from the maker or the manufacturer. I love more texture in that. Like, okay, so if you go to cowboy boots, kudu looks almost like a smooth ostrich from like the appearance.
Yeah.
You have full quill, which looks like just you see, it's like a blown up version of chicken skin. These quills and I'm not crazy about that, but there's a smooth ostrich, which is where the smaller feathers come out from the bottom of where their belly is.
Yeah.
And that's where that leather comes from. And I've always liked the way smooth ostrich looks on cowboy boots. And kudu seems to have like a very similar type of patterning in it. A lot of movement in it.
Right. Yeah, I could see that being the case. Yeah, I'll have to look that up because like you're saying, most ostrich, it's got those quills in it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I had a talk with Wyatt recently from Grantstone, and he was saying that they're getting ready to run a boot made out of ostrich.
Oh wow, a lace-up boot. That'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, that's gonna be crazy. So I'm very interested. But yeah, I didn't realize that there was ostrich that was like a smooth underbelly that's more similar to kudu.
Yeah, there's actually 3 parts of the ostrich that are used for cowboy boots or boots in general. And that's the full quill, which is, that very, it looks like a bunch of little, some say herpes.
Polka dots.
Goosebumps, if you will. And then there's the smooth, which is the bottom part. The full quill is where the big feathers are, like on your wingspan or your back. And then the smooth is from actually the underside, like where the pigeons, like the breast part of the bird. Softer, more it calls down feathers. They're really soft ones. That's the smooth ostrich. And then they actually have ostrich leg, which actually looks a little bit like if you know anything about snakeskin boots, there's snakes have the scales, which are kind of like they're directional, like fish scales. And then they have, that's usually called a belly cut. So they split the cut down the belly where you get all the smaller scales from the back on the portion that you're using. Or if you get a back cut snake skin is where you get the bottom side stretched out across the vamp. And that's where you have those wider tiles going across down the center. And so the ostrich leg has that similar pattern where it's like wide bars that come down the center it's basically the shin of the front of your leg that is used. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I'm learning here with cowboy boots. They use a lot of interesting the cuts that they have named for the different parts of the animals and stuff. So
Right. You're so right. Yeah, cowboy boots, like you're saying, it's just a completely different universe. Oh, you're into boots. What kind of boots? Cowboy boots. Oh, I don't know anything about cowboy. It's
not all that different. It's just different in like the naming and the way they go about. I'd say most heritage style boots are mostly cowhide, less exotics used in heritage boots. But there's also a lot of brands that, they do they experiment with ostrich, you know. There
Yeah.
are a few that you'll find in like the bisons that Whites and Nicks has been doing recently. And then
Yeah.
there's even brands that are doing Packer style snake skins. So there's a lot, you know. The exotics aren't exactly my cup of tea, but
Mhm.
it's just fun to kind of witness it and just see the different way these products can be styled.
That's definitely true. Like when it comes to exotics, I like stuff like the kudu, the antelope leathers, the moose. I like the cowhide, the horse hide. But then when it comes to like reptile, I'm like, just for some reason, something about reptile skin, it just doesn't do it for me. You know what I mean? Like, yeah,
Yeah.
I see a lot of cowboy boots made out of snake skin and stuff, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I can't do that. I'm sorry. But then, yeah, cowboy boots, they also get into the ostrich with the dimples in there or whatever.
Yeah.
What was
Uh-huh. Full quill, the quill.
Yeah, the quills. Yes, exactly. And then my wife's grandfather, he actually has a collection of cowboy boots, and he's got a pair made out of elephant. I'm
Yeah. Oh yeah. That elephant is definitely something I would not be against, you know, experimenting with that skin,
Yeah.
understanding and learning the experience with
Yeah.
pulling up, you know, and obviously testing the durability of it. That's something I'm into.
Oh yeah, for sure. I'm sure it's durable as hell. I'm sure it is.
Yeah, it's got to be thick, right?
Yeah, it's very thick. It's very thick, and it feels just like it looks. Like it's like rough,
And
grainy.
these, a lot of if you can imagine, elephant is usually very sustainably harvested. You know, whether it's older elephants or, you know, maybe a sick elephant, something that was sustainably harvested. So the fact that the funds going to is, you know, maintaining their environments and their ecosystems, you know, in a responsible way. So obviously we can imagine years ago that was not the case. That wasn't something that was on everybody's minds, you know, like the great buffalo,
Yeah.
the great buffalo, whatever you call that, slaughtering when the railroads were built.
Oh yeah, I can't remember, but yeah, you're right.
Well, they didn't keep track of numbers. That's the thing. There was no study groups to keep track of numbers, and so they almost went extinct and stuff like that.
Right,
So,
right. Yeah, horrible the way
isn't that crazy to imagine? Like, imagine a species just shows up out of nowhere, and they're like, "Man, those humans, they got some really soft skin." Their stuff stretches like nothing. Right? Imagine that.
Right. Oh god.
Imagine that. And people just start coming up with, you know, but they'd be smarter than us. They'd show up with people taking numbers down and saying, well, you know, they could stay intact. The species can stay intact, you know, with these amounts harvested. How crazy.
Right. I'm sure. Oh god, that would be a nightmare. If a more
it's a pretty
intelligent
graphic narration that
yeah
or illustration that I put up.
well,
I'm not anti-human skin. Like let's
right.
keep our human skin intact, but
Exactly.
it's just something to think about, right?
Exactly. That topic actually that leads me to segue into a question that I've been asking people lately, which is who really built the pyramids? Humans or aliens? What do you think?
I love that question. I love that question because there's so many theories, right? But I want to say there might have been versions of us from either different dimensions or different times that came back and helped us. It wasn't humans on their own. So I think humans put in the work with the help of something or someone else. I've been into construction since I was, 10 years old, 9 years old, going with my dad to the workplace. He was an electrician. And so,
okay.
I have a pretty good idea of what it would take to, cranes, modular cranes, modular tracks, something that you need to bring up, what is that, 8,000 pounds per stone or something like that, maybe more.
Right.
So, I don't know with 8,000 pounds. It could be more, it could be less, but I'm just guessing like a solid sandstone block like that.
Yeah.
You're going to need wheels. You're going to need leverage.
Mm-hmm.
Number one thing. So maybe they used cogs, but they didn't have any heavy, they had wood. What did they have? They had rope. Did they have wood? Did they have, what kind of wood did they use? My pickup truck has a 13,000 pound winch in the front of it. And I know that 13,000 pounds of gearing power that can pull what it's called a snatch block. And it basically splits the amount of energy used on the motor, the amount of strain on that motor, by adding a snatch block, which wraps it around a pulley, and it basically cuts it in half, covering half the amount of the distance in a certain amount of time. But the motor itself would have half as much strain in it. So I understand the power of gears and pulleys and stuff like that. So it's possible, but I honestly don't, because I feel like there's a gap in between that ingenuity, that level of ingenuity and engineering, and like after them, like it just disappeared. And
Right.
I feel like if it wasn't help from someone else, they would have definitely kept advancing. So, but I don't think that was the case. I don't think that's not what happened. So.
Right. And there's a lot of theories about there being some sort of advanced exotic type technology that they could have used sound to lift these rocks. They could have used light. They could have used different resonant frequencies. There's just so much around it. I heard one theory they used water aqueducts to lift the stones. I don't think I believe that. I heard another one that it's possible that they used a composite type material like a concrete to make those stones, which would make sense if they had a mold that they just moved the mold down the line and filled it with the composite. But at the same time, it's too big. I don't know. Like honestly, I don't see how they could have done it with primitive technology. I just don't see it. I think maybe there was an advanced civilization that had a mastery of some sort of technology, some sort of technique that we just don't know what it was.
Yeah, because there's different parts of the world where they did stuff like that. Like in
Right.
South America, Central and South America, they did similar things with those temples.
Exactly. And the more you look at these advanced megalithic architecture across the world, they rhyme. Like there's things that they have in common, like where you go from like ancient Cambodia, ancient Peru, ancient Egypt, ancient wherever. It's like there's similar practices being implemented. Pumapunku, Sacsayhuaman, like all these different megalithic structures across the world that just mystify us to this day. You know what I mean? And I asked the question about aliens jokingly, but seriously, like that's not off the table as far as I'm concerned.
Not for me anyway.
Right.
Not for me at all. Because honestly, once you understand the idea that how incredible the human mind is, and there's one thing I always say is like the smartest man knows just how little he knows. And the other thing is like when people are like, I'm like, how are you doing? And they're like, it could be better, Sure, it could be better, but it can always be worse. It might be better. Like there's a possibility things could be better, but one thing that's guaranteed is it could always be worse. So that kind of helps me keep my glass half full every day, because there's things that you cannot even fathom with your mind, things that you cannot even create in your mind, like scenarios that can very possibly happen. So there's just so much out there that we have no awareness of. So
that's true.
I definitely don't throw down the idea that there's other civilizations out there much more advanced than us, and they got tired of our shit and they're like, you know what, I was gonna help you figure this out on your own. I'll come back in 2,000 years and we'll see what oh, you guys are still dealing with diabetes down here. Jesus Christ, what the hell are you guys doing, man?
So true. So true. So many good points you make there. Like, yeah, first off, yes, things could be better. We could make them better, but think about how easy it is to make things way worse than they already are. Like it takes a long time to make something good. It takes a very short amount of time and zero effort to make things completely destroyed.
Little mistakes. One little mistake can derail your whole life.
Exactly. It's so true. It's so true. Destruction is so much easier than creation. And that's part of what I hate to be a pessimist sometimes, but I'm a glass is half full kind of a guy. But think about our culture, like we sort of champion and celebrate destruction, like action movies, John Wick going through
Reality TV shows.
yeah, exactly.
That's what interests
Exactly.
us. Destruction is what interests us. And
Yeah. Yeah, it's true, but really what should interest us is, the art of building things like your belts. Like for example, like you're not cranking one of these things out in 5 minutes. Like I'm sure it takes you a while to make one of these, but it is a work of art. It's a masterpiece, you know what I mean? It's going to last you for life. The workmanship is expressed through the item, You don't need to talk it up. You don't need to convince somebody to buy this. They see it and they want it because your eyes don't lie when they see quality. You know what I mean?
Right, right. Okay. I have never spent $1 in like marketing or promoting or paying for ads. I've never done it. I have
Cool.
been blessed, fortunate enough to have friends who are willing to take a chance and willing to share their experience on platforms like YouTube and platforms like social media and share it. One of the most incredible things that kind of makes it easier to wake up and smile is the fact that there are people experiencing this quality and are the return customers. I get it every time I get an order and I'm like, it'll say like one order. So I'm like, okay, that's their first order from me. And then it's like every other or every third customer, it's like 4 orders, 2 orders, 3 orders. And it's like, wow, this is a person that's been with me for quite some time. They're seeing it. They're satisfied with it. They think that it's an awesome product. They like the level of quality that I'm making this at. So I'm like, well, that's something I'm like, I like pinch myself. I'm like, wow, they really do appreciate that quality. They do appreciate that handwritten note. They do appreciate the relationship that I tried to create with every interaction. Every transaction is an opportunity for an interaction.
It's true. Yeah, that's true. That's so true. And that's so uplifting to hear because yes, first off, when you have a repeat customer, that's like the biggest approval you could possibly get because it's like, okay, it's one thing if they bought it once, but it's a completely different thing if they bought it twice.
When I first started, every note I put like, please post pics, because I want to see it. I want to see how you're styling it. I want to see what you're using it for. And I want to see who it is that, who did it, who got it. But, I was bummed at first because less people are even active on social media than you'd expect. I would expect right off the bat, I was thinking every customer is gonna be like repost and like, hey, here you go, here's me wearing it. And I'm like, dang it, man, that was a really cool belt. I'm glad I took a picture of it before, I sent it off. Because, you see my feed and it's like, I try to get a picture of each one that I make. But in the perfect world, every customer would, take a photo with it and stuff like that. But it really isn't the case. And so it bums me out, but it still doesn't, what it goes to show me is that it doesn't mean that they don't appreciate it. They don't love it. I've been getting emails from customers like, oh, the sizing was perfect. I love the belt. Or I received an email from a customer that said, I must have misread your sizing that said pants. It's a little bit big, So I'm like, well, that's fine. How big is it and stuff like that. He's actually sending me, he bought 2 belts. He's actually sending them back to me so I can resize them for him because he's off by 3 inches. So I'm thinking he must have went with his direct waist size instead of going off his pant size. And so I'm gonna be resizing it for him, and it's no problem. He's actually paying for the shipping back to me. I'll pay for the shipping back to him. It's no big deal. But the most important thing to me is to get sizing right for every individual. So, but at the end of his first message, he said, "P.S. The belts are beautiful," and I was like, "Yes." You know,
That's
little
what's
things
up.
like that. Little things
Yeah,
like that.
exactly. And the fact that, you know, and that really is a blessing that he's trying to make him work because he loves them that much. You know what I mean? And that's so cool that you're able to like take it. And yeah, it, like you're saying, it wouldn't be a problem at all. It would be a problem to add length, but it wouldn't be a problem to take length because all you have to do is really just disassemble it, cut a little bit off,
Yeah.
and then reshape it. You know,
Yeah.
reshape this around the buckle, and then you're good to go. The belt is basically new. And in fact, my one buddy Jake at Almost Vintage Style, he lost like a ton of weight recently,
Yeah.
and he's like, "Oh, I need to get new belts." I'm like, "No, you don't. Like, send them in to whoever made them and have them reduce it by 3-4 inches, and then
Right.
you keep the same belts. You keep the same patina. Like."
Yes.
Don't throw that stuff away. Keep it. It's heirloom quality. So that's so awesome, though, that you're able to work with people. And this has been a theme that's come up recently for me is I like to know the people that make my stuff. And that's why, like, I'm so happy to know you because I know you. I see your face. I can talk to you. I consider you a friend. And I also have multiple pieces of garments from you that I wear every day. And to me, it doesn't get any better than that. Like there's a spirit to the garments now. It's not just some nondescript thing that I took off the shelf at a department store. You know, there's no soul in that. There's soul in something that's handmade, and then even better when I know the person that made it. Like that's just
There's personality, there's character, there's identity attached to it.
Right. Exactly.
Serial number or
Right, exactly. Well, I do have a number on some of these. I think the Wiz, I have a 1 out of 1 here.
Oh yeah, the Wiz. Oh, I missed that belt. I'm tearing up. That was a special one right there, man.
Yeah, this thing is I love this thing. This thing is beautiful.
It's funny because when I posted that, I was like, if nobody wants this thing, I'll give it a week and I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. And Dale messages me the next day. Hey, I'm like, yeah, it's still available. Yeah, I love. There's something about gray leather that I might be getting a pair of boots in gray.
Okay, cool.
There's not enough gray leather out there.
I agree.
I'm surprised.
I can't agree more.
It's a pretty neutral color, and I think when it's like. When it's done right, when it's dyed right, you still get enough character in it that it doesn't look fake. Like the gray that looks, a man-made color. That's, right. I think if it's gray, it's got to have a little texture. It's got to have a little pattern in it, natural character in it.
I agree. I completely agree. And I have some gray boots now. I have some gray. It's called Storm Kudu from
Storm Kudu. Yep.
Yeah, Storm Kudu, those are gray. And then I also have some Truman boots in Smoke Rambler, which are a light gray. And with both of those boots, I'm rocking this baby right here. Because I love, like, I'm with you. Like, you don't see gray out there. You don't see green. I've talked about green a lot, but you don't see gray nearly enough either. And when I saw the perfect gray belt go up for sale, I'm like, I thought about it. I waited like 12 hours. I'm like, I'm going to ask Angel if he still has that.
It's funny because I've had emails out. I've had at least 6 emails, messages from people asking about when that's coming back. And so I'm like, I don't know what happened. I don't know when. I guess it's not available anymore. So, oh well. But I do have the Derringer. And that was pretty much the leftover that they had was in that size strapped already. And so I've got 4 of the small Derringers and they're only 1.2 inches. Okay. But I've put it on just to see how it looks. Yeah. And it really is like a summer lightweight, something you wear with khakis, maybe even to like the beach, something you wear like linen, pants. Yeah. Yeah, it's like a business casual. It's, I think ladies could easily pull that thing off, but even guys. So it probably doesn't look as good with a pair of like Nick's Urban Loggers or Builder Pros, but it could definitely go with a nice pair of like loafers or even sandals, you know. I think
Yes.
I think I might keep one for myself to wear to the beach this year.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. Like you're saying, it's like a nice lightweight, easy breezy summer style when you're not trying to overload yourself with heavy gear, when you're just
Mhm.
trying to go lightweight everything. That would
Yeah.
be a 1.25 inch, 1.25 inch belts are ideal for that. I'm the type I like something really thick on usually on the day to day. That's why
Yeah.
your belts are so amazing. So the Derringer, what leather is that made of? Is that the
Same
same
one.
leather? Or
Same one.
okay.
It's
It's
funny because that was actually on accident that they ended up that size.
yeah.
The product description showed what I thought was 1.5. I have like a dyslexia that's like a selective dyslexia. So it's like my mind wanted to see 1.5.
Yeah.
So that 1.2 told me 1.5, and when it showed up, I was like, "Oh yeah, it did say 1.2." Luckily, I found buckles to go with it, and those are just a small run. Obviously, I disappointed the people that were like, "Hey, what about the Wiz? Is it coming back?" And I'm like, "I don't have 1.5s, but I got these 1.2s, and they look really nice."
Yeah.
And people are like, "Oh man, I was really hoping for inch and a half." I'm like, "I know, me too." Those are going to a special cause. They kind of started the idea between that and just right now, as of right now, all of the sales in February, I'm donating 10% of proceeds to the Alzheimer's Association in Chicago, Illinois. And so they're the main people putting, research and development into treating Alzheimer's and hopefully preventing it. So I recently lost a second cousin, my mom's cousin, to Alzheimer's, and that's something that's actually running our family.
Oh
So,
no. I'm sorry to hear that.
thanks, man. He was a really special dude. Luckily, he lived a good life.
Mhm.
So it was more a celebration than anything. Um,
Good.
yeah, special guy. He was actually quite the resume. He
Oh
was
yeah.
he was a Secret Service agent,
Hmm.
16 years, and
Whoa.
yeah, he was in the Army, went into Secret Service, served 4 presidents. Grandmother uh, suffered from it, and so it's my duty to make sure that I kind of do something for that. I feel obligated. I feel an obligation to. So
Yeah.
10% in February is
Awesome.
going to that. And if you guys want to get on board and kind of help me support this cause, Dale's got his own discount code, all caps, ASLV10, and that'll give you 10% off of your whole purchase. So your whole order will get 10% off. I appreciate you guys' support. You guys rock.
Absolutely. And you know what? I might not make a purchase, but I might just send you some money as a donation, as a pure donation. So you've inspired me. And not to mention, like, yeah, Alzheimer's it's a horrible disease, and not enough, in my opinion, is known about it. We need to find a cure to that because it is horrible. And I've looked up several, like, they're not mainstream doctors, but they're more holistic health doctors, and they treat Alzheimer's, I believe, with medicinal mushrooms and with coconut oil. What's the medicinal mushroom that helps with the brain?
Psilocybin?
Oh, that no, but that is supposed to help, I think, to some degree. But what I'm thinking of is lion's mane. Have you ever heard of
Oh
lion's
yeah,
mane?
absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Okay.
I take medicinal mushrooms. I take a blend of reishi, chaga,
Mm,
lion's mane is good for the brain.
all
Um,
right.
yeah, turkey tail, cordyceps. There's several, but lion's mane in particular is supposed
Mm,
to help with neurological development, neurological health, and is
okay.
said, some people say, can help with Alzheimer's as well. So
Interesting. I'm all about that. Like natural remedies, I'm all for it.
me
I'm a
too.
type 1 diabetic, so the less pills, the less processes that go into making these remedies, the
Yeah,
better. The more I can feel comfortable,
right.
trying trying experimenting.
Absolutely. Absolutely, my friend. Well, I'll send you some links of some medicinal mushrooms that I've been on. In fact, my whole family, we all drink we drink chaga all day long, chaga
Yeah.
mushroom. That's good for
Okay.
the immune system. It teaches your immune system how to think smarter, believe it or not. So yeah, it's really good. I'll send you some links to, hopefully, hopefully you can resonate with some of it, because it's amazing stuff. Because I'm all about not relying on on our medical establishment.
The money motivated.
In fact, this is 1/3 coffee, 2/3 chaga right here, what I'm drinking here. So
Okay.
yeah, I like my coffee, but I like to scoop some chaga in there as well. I'll get some.
I'll have to. Yeah, I'll definitely reach out to you, because as you saw, I finished my coffee right now. But I would definitely, if I could mix some chaga into my coffee, man, I'll definitely give that a try. Because I'm 34 now, and my memory's still pretty well intact. As much as it could be from banging my head so many times as a youngin'. But that's like, as we were saying, that disease, it's really ugly, and seeing someone deteriorate like that, and their from their memories to their personalities and to their soul, starts to deteriorate. And obviously some people think that they're going to somewhere else, and I sure hope so, because someone that beautiful deserves a good place to be. So
yes. So well said. I completely agree. It's in the name of your brand, Nobleman's Apothecary. I don't think there's anything more noble than you can be doing right now than to be donating to a cause like that. I have to applaud you full force, because it's not just your name, it's also what you live by, and it's the intangible values that you espouse, not just with words, but you actually back that up with your actions. And I think that is so profound, and thank you for leading the charge. And yeah, I'm definitely sending you a donation once we close up this boot talk.
So, much appreciated, brother. Much appreciated.
Absolutely. I got your back, brother. I got your back. In my opinion, you are somebody that leads by example, and your brand is it's really a model that I think all brands should live up to. You know what I mean? It's noble, it's inspiring, it's encouraging, it's welcoming, it's all of the above. And I find so much inspiration in what you're doing right now. And honestly, I'm honored to be able to call you a friend.
Well, we had I mentioned how being reaffirmed or reassuring, the feeling that you get when you have a return customer.
Mm-hmm.
But there's also something that's even more like reassuring to me as a small business owner, small maker,
mm-hmm.
who's still trying to make it and still, working on a good development, towards products and stuff like that as a brand, is when brands can kind of help each other and push each other forward and kind of positively challenge one another, like nerding with Trinity and his kilties, his false tongues. I mean, that was one of the most fun things ever, was seeing someone come out with something that I kind of already made, but they put a little extra spice on it, something different. And I didn't feel any kind of like negative energy or kind of like some people kind of like would clench their cheeks and be like, oh, what the hell's going on? What am I doing? But it's like, no, man, like he did it right. And I'm like, I'm so pumped for that. And what I'm noticing is that, like, having friends and creating relationships with other brands where you can like have a good dialogue on, complimenting one another on what they're doing. And dude, there's nothing, wrong with a newcomer in the game. Like, there's people say, oh, the market is flooded or the market is saturated. And it's like, that's so subjective. You could say that, but you're not really looking at, what it is in front of you, like the different options that we have. There's so many different things. There's so many different ways to go about it. And the more that we can create these, what looks similar, like a belt or a false tongue or something, a hat band, and let our personality kind of speak through our designs, that kind of gets me pumped. It's like, yeah, man. Because now I'm thinking about, okay, what's something else? Like I want to do a slight alteration to my false tongue design, something, and it still will be my own, but and I'm sure he's gonna get something from seeing what I come up with, and he's gonna like, oh wow, that's really cool. There is no like, you're taking away from me. I don't get that feeling. And the less I think about it like that, the more I think about it we call it the abundance mindset versus the scarcity mindset, And so we're holding each other accountable and kind of, obviously we want best practices in this community. So that's really not a worry, but it's, just like the whole product design, the whole product development. And, him and I were talking about his, like a shifter for a motorcycle, the shifter protector. It was like the toe box protector or something like that. And, we're talking about that. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what you were talking about. Because I asked him, like, have you thought about doing this? He was like, yeah, but blah, blah, blah. So you have little conversations like that. And that's cool, man. That doesn't happen without a community, without a healthy community, as part of the dynamic.
Right. I completely agree. And in fact, he messaged me before he even launched his product. And he was like, I don't want to step on Angel's toes. I'm not trying to fill what he's already doing and things like this. He's like, I think it's different enough to where he won't feel that way. And I'm like, dude, Angel is the coolest dude out there. Like, he is not going to be offended, or like, he sees your intention and he's going to commend you every step of the way. And that's what I love about it, is when you have a real vision that's pure, it doesn't corrupt. It won't be corrupted by somebody else's pure vision, like you said, it's the abundance approach, not the scarcity approach. If you look at it with the scarcity approach, like you're saying, then yeah, everything's a threat, but when you look at it like this is a communal effort, then the limits the possibilities are limitless, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you guys could even get together, do a collab or something. How cool would that be? I mean, literally the sky's the limit. And when you look at it, like you said, from the perspective of abundance, then you can get more people, more makers together and keep supporting each other. And in fact,
Yes.
I've asked you, like, run some ideas by you. I was talking to Jimmy about how he sources leather and stuff, and he was helping me out a little bit here and there. And I'll have some questions for you as well, of course. I think if the community comes together and supports each other, then it's not a competition. It's just pure creation. And that's, I think, the place we want to be. I think that's the community we want to make. I think that's the correct perspective to have, sir. And I commend you on that.
Well, yeah, there's plenty for everyone. There's more than enough to go around,
Yeah.
But I think what's paramount is pushing those creative limits, pushing those creative limits and being able to innovate, with the challenges that present themselves. I think there won't be any shortage of opportunity for anybody that wants to get into this, The flip side of that coin is, like, if you just come in and all you're doing is trying to do what they're doing, you're going to lose steam. You're going to lose steam. There's only one way to go about it, and that's to do it your own way. There's a lot of guys who they keep to themselves and stuff like that. And it's like, yeah, with respect, I would never go and ask a maker like, hey man, how do you do that? I guess there's ways you can ask, but it's like, I've had people ask me like, hey, where do you get this? And how do you do that? Where do you do this? And I'm like, who is this person? I don't even know them. Like, they didn't start. First of all, they didn't start out in the DM with, hey man, love your work or something like that. It was just like, hey, where do you do this? How do you do that? Like, who are you? Come on, like, let's have a relationship, man. Start off by, come at me correct. I don't consider myself a master, but I mean, there's certain ways to go about it. And like Isaac from Pigeon Tree, he's a great dude. Him and I were talking earlier this week about like the insulation in his crawl space.
Oh, cool.
And so him and I, we don't really talk about like practices and stuff, but we talk about other things, but we complement each other more than anything,
Right.
Right.
And I think both of your products stand within their own right. I wouldn't say that, and one of my professors said this once. He said, don't try, if you're in business, don't try to be the best, try to be different. And I think that's so true, because the best is subjective. Who knows what the best is? But being different,
Right.
you create your own thing, your own image. It stands on its own. It stands in its own category. Like you're saying, you're not trying to duplicate anybody. If you duplicate somebody, then you're only cheating yourself. If you create your own thing that stands on its own, then it is its own category. And that's so awesome that you guys talk. I didn't realize you guys were talking. That's so cool, because you're both just such cool guys, and you both make some of the best belts out there, in my opinion. So
Yeah. So there's fashion, right? And then there's style. You know, I'm not so crazy about fashion because that's a lot of the same. You know, style is more unique. There's always going to be a smaller type of less of the same when you're talking style.
That's so true. That's what I found that I love so much, are the heirloom things, the things that I could pass on to my kids, not the things that, oh, I'm going to wear it for a year and toss it out. Like, no, I'm going to be 80 years old and I'm still going to be wearing my Hondo belt. So keeping this forever. So, I mean, and it's never going to wear out. And speaking of, so this was the other question that I wanted to ask you. How do you source your leather? So I know like Isaac, he uses the Sedgwick leathers from the UK, and uses the J&FJ Baker tannery, and he also uses the Tarnsjo tannery. And I know that you use, most of your stuff is from the Wicket and Craig tannery. So talk to me just a little bit how you like to select the leathers that you go with in your belts, because you pick some really amazing ones.
Well, okay. Well, first off, as a maker, I don't think there's any way where you can kind of go and get like literature on like what leather is the most fun or most easy or the most durable. There's not really like a brochure or some database that you can tap into and be like, if I want this kind of belt, this is what I need to do. This is the leather that I need to go for from this brand. There's a lot of different variations from tannery to tannery. Wicket and Craig, it's vegetable tan. It's close to home. You know, it's right in Pennsylvania. They're local. I like vegetable tan. I love vegetable tan. That's just my preference. Chrome tan's a little different. You don't get the same kind of aging as you do with vegetable tan, in my opinion. I think most vegetable tans, especially like a natural edge or like a neutral color, will always age with a hint of like tanning to it. Like it'll tan like your summer belt. It turns less green and almost more like brown with time, right? And that's just something I like. You know, I can go and put 100 different like belt leathers in my store, but I really only at this age, I'm less than a year old. I can have 8 different colors or 6 different colors, and getting a sense of expectations from a tannery. You know, F and JF, is it J&FJ, Tarnsjo, and Sedgwick. I really like Sedgwick because the finish coat on the colors that they have, it almost looks like they're brushed on and then they have like a wax coating over it. Yes. But I've never had any in front of me. So, okay. But it's definitely something I want to try. So, there's so many leathers that I want to try that I just haven't gotten around to yet. Right. So, I'll get a small batch and I'm like, wow, this is kick ass, and that's when I'll hit you up like, hey man, check out what I got. Yes. And I'm just really excited. And I have a few people where I'll kind of like share photos with them. Like, hey man, check what I got, Yes. So, I like, obviously the more I know about it, the more I know, and when I know what I can expect from a leather, it makes it easier to decide like that's what I would like to try, So there are some vegetable tans that are just very, very, very tight grain and make it a little bit harder to work with. So yeah. What's the
Night Rider there?
Yes. Yeah. Dang it! my brain is farting right now. But there's one vegetable tan leather and it always ends up being really tight for me. Like my preference, it'd probably be perfect for someone who's doing a lot of tooling work in it and a lot of the tooling dealt in the whole strap. You want something a little more stiff, but I like something with just, a medium hardness, something that's hardy, something that's there's got to have some stretch to it. you know so I hope I answered your question correctly, but my it's a journey for me, like learning what one leather. So I'm like, let me get one strap of this. Let me just order one strap and experiment with it. And there's times where I'm like, nah, this ain't it. But there's batches where you can order of a thicker weight or a thinner weight. Sometimes the thinner weight is not as easy to work with as the thicker weight, and vice versa.
Interesting. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, like when you're doing things like beveling and stuff like that, sometimes on the thinner weight, the backside will not. It has a really tough texture, and so I like to at least do 10 ounces with Vegetarian leather. Otherwise, when you get to like 8 and 9, sometimes the backside, I don't know what about it is, whatever they do to the backside, it's really hard and like a scratchy surface to it. So
interesting.
Yeah, I don't like to overthink it, and I definitely don't consider myself like a leather connoisseur, because I know how you're into depth and detail your discussions with your boots are on your channel. The real boot talk. So I try to keep it mostly simple, because it is a cost for me to kind of go down a rabbit hole when I don't know exactly what I'm going to experience. And right now, I think I've got enough variations in my lineup that I think I'm happy with mostly vegetable tan leather from Wicket and Craig.
That's really awesome. And like so much of what you just said resonates with me because it's a journey. Yes, I've been on a journey. I started with Chrome XLs and I just thought that, this leather is just so amazing. Going on and on about Chrome XL. But then as you get into it, you realize, oh no, there's all these different kinds of leathers, and your curiosity just carries you onto the next one. And so, yes, I think that's awesome that you have sort of your core selection with Wicket and Craig. I think you kind of like Isaac, probably over time are going to experiment. You're going to get different samples and you're going to be like, I'm going to run this leather. I'm going to run this leather. I could see that happening, but I think that's really awesome that you kind of carry a core selection already. I'm always so excited to see what you're going to run next. Like the bison, for example. Oh, that bison, when you sent me the pictures of that, I'm like,
yeah,
it's not even a question. Like, I need that.
I even sent the picture to Colin Moralski to see if he wanted to get in on the action, but I guess no go.
Oh no, that's too bad.
It's all good. I'm like, well, let's go for the second edition. Second edition, I want thicker texture. Hopefully I can get a different color. If I can get like a gray bison, that would be it right there. Yeah. That'll be it. That'll be the one.
It would, definitely. And actually, who runs a lot of bison is Law Tanning.
Yeah, Law Tanning.
Yeah, they've run some, and they recently just completed a batch of navy shrunken bison, which looks super sharp. If you ran a belt in that, I'd buy one. So definitely.
Yeah, I'm thinking the second edition will be bison, but I want to do something different with the edges, maybe painting the edges a certain color to give it a contrast.
Okay.
Definitely want to try something different. It's going to be special. So because they're special editions, they're not going to be just run of the mill, And so I want to do that too with, I want to try some stuff with some exotics, but when you get into the real exotics and you're looking at stitching, because the hides only come so thick. So there's just so many variables that go into it. I don't want to get into layering leather belts. And possibly worrying about people's leather layers delaminating or stitches that come undone. I don't think that's a place for a belt in Nobleman's Apothecary anyway. So I want it simple. I want it understated, less going on. I want the leather to speak, and that's it.
Right. I love that. And that's Man, I resonate with that so much. Yes, I love single piece of full grain leather, thick
Yeah.
all the way through. A real leather belt, one that's skin all the way through, like something like this. This is easily one that's probably going to turn into my favorite belt of yours because the natural, like the more it ages, just love the fuzzy texture that it has. Oh, so luxurious,
Yeah.
so beautiful. Not to mention, like you're talking about, it stretches. So it's stretched probably a good inch since I've got it, since I started wearing it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Really?
and I love that. I think that's so cool. Like you're saying, there's different leathers for different purposes. I never realized that, but there's some leathers that are really good for bags, some leathers that are good for boots, some leathers that are good for belts. It just depends. So certain cuts have different functions. So that's
Yeah.
why, yeah, when you look on different tanneries websites, it's like, oh yeah, this leather here, this would be a good leather for bags because it's so pliable. Oh, this one's more rigid, so this one is better as a piece of footwear, I guess. So I guess there's all kinds of variables that goes into it, but
Yeah. Oh man, I gotta tell you, there was this color I saw probably maybe, I don't know, a week ago or something. It was you
yeah,
probably saw it too. It was on Instagram. It was the leather, it was a pair of boots. The leather was black marbled shell cordovan. Did you see that?
yes, yes,
Oh man, that was incredible. That color.
yeah. I've been seeing a lot of marbled shell cordovans recently. Yes, it's insane. I think Meerman for the past couple weeks have been doing a run of the marbled shells.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
yeah, Flame Panda does some really good marbled shell, especially that black marbled shell cordovan, man. Yeah, like
Yeah.
you're saying,
I
it's
would want a pair of boots in that,
yes,
like nice. And that's the other thing is, so you'll see heritage boots made. And I say heritage because I'm talking about lace up style boots,
yeah,
business casual, work, old traditional work boot styles. Most of them are cowhides, and you'll see some in shell cordovan and even engineer boots. But with cowboy boots, like Black Bear brand, they had a batch of Rios and Mercedes, and I think they did Horine, Rough Out, and I can't remember exactly, but they did a few Horine runs, but they don't. I've never seen any cowboy boots. I'm sure it's been done, but I haven't seen any cowboy boots made with shell cordovan. And I think that'd be something interesting to do because I have a pair of Rios Mercedes Ropers with a horse hide, a burgundy horse hide, and those are really interesting. Like up in person, like I know I have YouTube videos on them, but in person, there's just a whole, like there's a depth of just like marbling. What I call it? It's like a marble because there's like high, lows, and colors, and like you can see like through the hide up into a certain amount. Yeah, so that black marble shell cordovan, man, if I can get my hands on like a hide of that and send it over to like Planet Cowboy and get some nice boots made up, ooh, that'd be cool.
man.
So Planet Cowboy is, I think they're I think St. Louis, maybe Tennessee. I can't remember. They do a lot of their own in-house designed boots. They do Rios and Mercedes boots. They do I think they have Luke SS too, but they deal with makers in Mexico and in Texas. So they have CJ Cook had a pair of boots made by Planet Cowboy with some SB foot tannery leather that he got from Red Wing. So I'm thinking about doing something like that pretty soon. I mean, I want to get into boots. Really, I really want to get into boots. That's gonna be my. I don't want to say my ticket, but that's gonna be my ticket to happiness. Like that's when I'll feel like
Circle.
Remember Scrooge McDuck from DuckTales
Oh
where
yeah,
he's swimming in his coins. Like he loves money, but it's like when I could do that in boots and just swim in my own boots of like my own designs. That's what I want. That's what
oh
I want
man,
to do.
that would be incredible. Do you think you'll eventually maybe segue into making your own boots, or?
I definitely not by hand. No, I wouldn't be making them.
Oh,
But
okay.
again, that who knows? Who knows? But I definitely would like to at least try my hand at designing some boots, because I think I could really get some cool stuff going if I have all the resources. I think eventually that's definitely a segue I'd like to take. Yes.
I have no doubt in my mind that you could design some incredible boots if given the opportunity. So any boot makers out there watching this guy right here, he's got a mind for design.
That's definitely an idea. And I like to draw too. I know how to draw pretty decently. So,
oh, cool.
So I'll probably start by getting my own made for myself and kind of understand that process and see if there's maybe some kind of crowdfunding business model that I could use to kind of get that, to make it happen.
Dude, that would be monumental. I would love to see that happen, man. Yeah, your brain on some boots, dude. Sign me up. I mean, that one belt that you did recently with all the X's on it. Oh man, that is so.
Yeah, I'm actually wearing it right now.
Oh, really cool.
Yeah, it's, you know, I'm still thinking about that idea and it's already got a bunch of crocking in it.
Oh,
right where the buckle goes.
Yeah.
You see it right here?
Yeah. Oh man, I love that.
And you can see every one it's a different pitch of, a different hue of brown, the different temperatures that it was, given, that it was applied to.
Yes. Oh man, that is so nice. You know what? I'm half wondering, like, if I sent you this, would you be able?
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I'm supposed to be doing that already for a friend, Lucas White. He's on Instagram as Lucas up north or something like that. So he's got a ton of Red Wings. He's got a bunch of like Lucas Cowboy boots, and he's been a huge support to Nobleman's Apothecary. He's got a few belts. He's got a few hat bands, and he's even got a few of those false tongues. And so he was like, that's the only thing my Exolution belt is missing. And I was like, hey man, send it down. Let's get it taken care of. But
yes,
it is available as a $40 service.
Okay.
So customers can actually send any belt. Like if you got a belt made by someone else, I'll do it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So now that I mentioned that, I don't think that's actually written like that in the description, but I think that's something I'm going to add to there's a few things I need to do to the website this weekend. So I'm going to add that diagram to help people a little bit more. Cause as much as you think you have it explained, there's always going to be people who don't fully understand it. So I'm just trying to make it as easy as possible for people to understand their sizing.
Right.
So, that, and definitely reword that product description to the, just tell people that, this can be done with any belt. Send it on over.
That looks so sick.
Ship it to me. I'll do it and I'll ship it back to you. So
sounds good.
Definitely, it takes time though. It takes time. This thing here.
Yeah.
So, because I can only do like 2 or 3 at a time until it cools back off and doesn't change the color.
Right.
So it's fun, but it takes time and
Yeah, I could see that. Well, and plus, like you're saying, like about your website, you don't know if there's like enough detail on there. Well, I can tell you from buying so many boots over the years that, most boot makers, they also, like, when it comes to their sizing advice, it's like, man, I have no idea how to size in this boot,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you're lucky, you'll have a little section where it is like a sizing guide or something.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of stuff that go on your body where, our bodies are so very different. So, I think when you were talking to Grant Stone, he was saying the same thing that I agreed with. It's like you're trying to fit a certain medium, sizes of mediums where there's a spectrum, different time of the year. Some 3 months out of the year, you're this size. The other, 9 months, you're this size. So it's
right. It's true. Yeah, it's so true. That's why sizing is the hardest thing. And that's why I try to make sizing videos to help people out and maybe calm their nerves on their fit anxiety. But it's like ultimately.
That exactly. Yeah. Cause that is a big thing for people to not pull the trigger. is because
Yeah.
they're unsure about sizing. That's like the number one thing you see on forums and like even Facebook groups is questions on sizing. Hey, I'm unsure about sizing because of this, this, and this. Well, and that's why a lot of boot makers are, they have a pretty forgiving return policy and stuff like that.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, most do, because it's the biggest problem facing boot sizing. I mean, I would have got some Mark Alberts way earlier if I would have known my size. I would have got some Parkhurst way earlier if I'd have known my size.
Yeah.
So I want to help out these new boot brands, but it's like sometimes I just don't know how I'm going to size. And then once I do get an item in, I could compare it to the other brands that I have, and hopefully help the community out in some way. But
and hopefully it's not a fluke,
yeah.
a fluke size. That's always another variable. That's like, oh man, I had like one of these pairs, and every pair after that wasn't the same. So that's kind of something I experienced with Rios and Mercedes. Was I tried one pair of their boots, and it was a pair I bought on eBay. It was the first pair of Rios Mercedes. It was a pretty worn in pair. It was a size 11, which is what I size in like Iron Rangers and stuff like that. And it fit me. It fit me well. I was like, okay, so size 11. So the next pair of boots, which was, it was another brand, and I ordered a size 11. I was like, okay, it's pretty average size. But I kind of missed the mark where it's like, well, this was a well-worn in boot, and that's why it fits so well. Well, brand new pair of 11Ds is not the case. So I'm actually an 11.5D when they're brand new, and that kind of is a happy place for most boot makers. But I mean, you know all too well about that journey. We've all taken that.
Yeah.
We've all had that experience.
Yeah, we've all faced the trials and tribulations when it comes to sizing. Yeah, and actually, one thing that's kind of funny, just last night, this guy, he messaged me. He's like, hey, man, I just got some used Gaucho Truman Moosehide boots, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think these might have been yours originally, because he said that he watched my video and that he was inspired to get into boots, especially into Moosehide, because of the video that I made. Well, it turns out that, yeah, I sold that pair off because I got the size wrong. And the guy that received them then sold them. And now this dude wound up with the same pair. He sent me pictures, and I'm like, yeah, those are mine.
Oh, wow.
Just so crazy sometimes how this stuff sort of, it comes together in the end, and it makes sense in the end. It's funny how things work out. That's just so crazy to hear, like, out of nowhere, just get a DM from somebody that says, oh yeah, I think I have your boots now.
Yeah, I remember those Gauchos too. They were like that really light color, weren't they?
Yeah.
Almost just off-white.
Off-white. Yeah, they were beautiful. And unfortunately, all my other Trumans up till then in a size 9 fit me pretty well, but just always erring sort of on the side of large. But then that pair in particular was like, it felt like a size 10. It was like just so big. Uh-huh. There's no inserts that can make these fit. So I sold them.
When the sizing is too big, it will put the arch in the wrong position on your foot too. So that's usually the biggest thing that kind of makes it like you don't feel at home. Your foot doesn't feel at home in that boot. And that's because the arch is either too far forward or too far back.
Yeah. So, that's 100% right. Yeah. Yeah. Being too small is one type of hell. Being too big is a completely different type of hell.
For me, mine is usually the too small side.
Yeah, for sure. I can relate to that, my friend. I think I spent most of my life up till probably the age of 25 wearing the wrong size. Too small, just miserable all day long. I hate small shoes.
When I say like I had more experiences trying too small sneakers.
Yeah.
When I say sneakers, I was a lot of times shopping for footwear, which was sneakers. And when I was younger, they never had my exact size. So I'd go to the largest size, which was once half size smaller for me. So I remember that part of my life where it didn't matter to me. My feet were tight, but I looked tight. Like I was like, yeah, this is cool. I got the matching sneakers here. You can't tell me nothing. When I was into work, when I first started getting into work boots, I was wearing size 12. Isaac, the boot guy, he was always saying, you need to take yourself into a Red Wing store. help them size you correctly. And that's very true, because the first time I walked into a Red Wing shoe store, I was getting a pair of Iron Rangers for my birthday, and it was the 8085s, the first pair I ever got. And I was like, he's like, size, and I was like, yeah, size 12. And I put them on. I'm like, yeah, comfy, it doesn't hurt. It's not. And he's like, go ahead, bend your foot, like to like put your knee down so that your toes bend in the shoe box, in the toe box. And he's like, yeah, those are way too big. Let me get you a size 11. 11? What do you mean? And he's like, okay, you see this part of your foot needs to be in this part of the shoe. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay. He's like, look, these are very different from like sneakers and stuff like that. So, and that day I walked out with a size 11 in Iron Rangers, and I was like, wow, they were the most comfortable, and I still had the arch support portion of my journey that I needed to learn about. So I don't wear as many. I only have one pair of Iron Rangers now. There was one point where I had like 10 pairs. Yeah. My arches were not as happy as they could be. So
yeah, I'm sure.
But there's people that have higher arches and there's people that have lower arches. So people with a more relaxed arch, they're not experiencing that, that type of discomfort with a lack of arch support. Their foot is more comfortable with a flatter insole. Right. Where mine, I go to that digital foot measuring device.
Oh yeah.
In a Red Wing shoe store.
Yeah.
And you just see 2 letter C's, and that's my footprint. And it's like, because my arches are so high, like nothing is touching right there.
Oh,
and
wow.
So you just see that and my toes. So I have high arches. And so
okay. I got you.
The higher the arch, I guess the more comfortable, my foot is, my back is, and everything else.
Interesting. Well, that's a good thing that you have that figured out, because that'll make all the world of difference. So, especially when it comes to sizing. But yeah, man, I just have to thank you profusely for coming on and doing this real boot talk with me. This has been an incredible talk. It's been such a pleasure getting to pick your brain and to understand more of the mind behind the brand. And we'll have to do this again sometime soon.
Definitely. I had a lot of fun too. Understanding the person behind the product is something it's a little more commonplace now, but it wasn't 5 years ago, So
definitely.
I think it's fun for me. It's a pleasure to talk about boots, belts, leather goods, anything goods, tool wear, like, so
right.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. And I just want to remind people that, like, if you do have an idea, you can't expect yourself to know every little aspect of every little dynamic and every little part of this moving machine. You're going to develop, you're going to innovate, you're going to change. Your idea is going to change, quite a bit. So keep going at it, and just remember to take that first step. That's all you need. Take that first step, have your eyes open,
Amen.
And, you'll figure it out. You'll figure it out. And I look forward to seeing you on the other side of that maker's mark.
Absolutely. Amen to that. That is words of encouragement and inspiration right there, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, cool, man. Well, hey, Angel Rios, it has been a true pleasure getting to talk to you, my friend. Let's do this again sometime soon. And anyways, we're going to close it up now. But yeah, I hope you all enjoyed the video. And yeah, Angel, again, thank you so much again. This has just been the best.
Pleasure was mine, man. Take care.
All right, brother.
Have a good weekend.
Yes. God bless. Have a good night, brother.